Welcome to Teja Statistics. In this class, we are going to discuss about the testing of hypothesis. What is testing of hypothesis? The testing of hypothesis is the process of testing the significance and regarding the parameter of the population on the basis of the sample. In its a statistic is computed from the sample and drawn from a population, and on this basis of this it is seen whether the sample drawn belongs to the parent population with certain specified characteristics. In our day-to-day life, we see different commercial advertisements in television, newspapers and magazines, etc., such as a refrigerator of certain brand, uses up to 20% of saves up to 20% of electrical bill. Like that, a detergent of a certain brand produces the uh, cleanliness of wash, etc. So how we are going to use, whether it is going to be able to test? They are giving one statement about their brands to purchase the customer need. So here we have to test the statements. So this belongs to the population parameter. Okay, so in testing of hypothesis, the technique of testing such types of claims or statements or assumptions is known as testing of hypothesis. Okay, the truth or falsity of a claim or statement is never known unless we examine the entire population. But practically, it is not possible in most of the situations. So we take a random sample from the population under study and use information contained in this sample to take the decision whether a claim is true or false. Okay, so definition of this testing of hypothesis. The testing of hypothesis is the difference between the difference between the computed statistic and the hypothetical parameter is significant or not. So testing of hypothesis is a process of decision making by using various statistical methods, the theory of modern probability. Let's see one example over here, and we can conclude that how we are going to use the testing of hypothesis in general. A manufacturer of light bulbs uh, divides them into several lots where each lot consists of some specified number of, say, 1000. If a lot consists of 1% or less defectives, then it is will be rejected, otherwise it will be accepted. A uh, reasonable producer is to take a sample from of 10 light bulbs and find the number of defectives. How to take a decision on this basis of number of defectives in the sample? So here this is the situation where we can face the testing of hypothesis. Okay, next, the police submit a person in a court of law and claim that the person is a criminal, okay, because they have some evidences. How the judge decides whether the person is criminal or innocent? Okay, This is also be the one of the situation where we can find the uh, where we can able to apply the testing of hypothesis. Let's see the definition of the hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement about the population or a statement about the probability distribution of a random variable. It is defined by or it is denoted by H. So capital letter H. And in hypothesis testing problems, first of all, we should identify the claim or the statement or assumption or hypothesis to be tested. Okay, and write it is in the words. Once the claim has been identified, then we write it in symbolical representation or symbolical form of if possible. The average lifetime of an example, average lifetime of an electrical bulb manufacturing by a company is 1200 hours. So H mu is equals to 1200 hours. A machine X has an effective life period of 20 years less than any other machine in the company. So H is denoted by mu less than 20. Okay, the variation between the products of two companies in 10 hours in their lifetime. Okay, the two products, the variation, okay, in their life hours, that is H1 H sigma 1 square minus sigma 2 square, that is difference is 2. Okay, next classification of hypothesis. How many types of hypothesis are there? There are two types of hypothesis, that is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. But here we are doing the classification. A statistical hypothesis is classified into two types. One is simple hypothesis, another one is composite hypothesis. What is simple hypothesis? If a hypothesis specifies only one value or exact value of the population parameter, uh, specifies the population completely, is called the simple hypothesis. If x follows, example, x follows 100 comma 1 by 2, where n and p are specified. Here mu and sigma square are specified in the second example. Similarly, the composite hypothesis, if a hypothesis specifies not just one value of but a range of values that the population parameter may assumes, that is, do not specify the population completely, is called composite hypothesis. That is, x follows a binomial of 100 comma p. Here h p is greater than 0.5. P is not completely defined or specified here. Okay, there are two kinds of essential hypothesis in conducting the testing of procedure, that is testing of hypothesis, that is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? A statistical hypothesis with no difference statement or with a null attitude is called null hypothesis. Okay, according to R. A. Fisher, null hypothesis is the hypothesis which is tested for possible rejection. Possible rejection. Okay, under the assumption that it is true. Okay. Example, consider one example. In a shop, two types of fertilizers are available. Here the problem, which fertilizer gives minimum yield. Okay, there are three possibilities. First one, first fertilizer is better than the second one. Second fertilizer is better than first one. There is no difference between two fertilizers, both are equal. Here, the third statement is considered as the null hypothesis, the no difference statement. Next, similarly, to decide whether a computer performs well, uh, we form the hypothesis that the computer is doing well, that is p is equals to 100%, where p is the probability of success. Like that, you can find out so many examples of the uh, hypothesis. The given statement is with no difference, that is called null hypothesis. Next, alternative hypothesis means, what is an alternative hypothesis? The hypothesis which components to the null, okay, complements, sorry, which is complements to the null hypothesis is called alternative hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis has two types: two-sided or two-tailed alternative hypothesis, one-sided or tailed, one-tailed alternative hypothesis. The two-tailed hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, if the alternative hypothesis gives the alternate of the null hypothesis in both directions, that is less than and greater than the value of the parameter specified in the null hypothesis, then it is known as two-sided alternative hypothesis. Example, if h1, the one-sided or one-tailed alternative hypothesis is, uh, see the example for the alternative hypothesis of two-tailed, that is h1 theta is not equals to 60. That means it may be the greater than 60 or it may be the less than 60. So one-sided uh, tail alternative hypothesis which specifies whether it is greater than or it is less than. In two tail it is not going to be expressed. Okay. If the alternative hypothesis gives the alternative of null hypothesis only in one direction, whether it is less than or greater than, then it is known as one-sided alternative hypothesis. If h1 theta is greater than 60, then it is right-tailed alternative hypothesis. If h1 theta is less than 40, then it is left-tailed alternative hypothesis. So you can see the differences over here. Next, one more important definition, that is the critical region. Suppose x1, x2, x3 and so on, xn be a random sample drawn from the population having unknown population parameter theta. The collection of the possible values of x1, x2, x3 and so on xn is set is called sample space S, and a particular value of x1, x2, x3 and so on xn represents the point in the space. In order to test a hypothesis, the entire sample is partitioned into two uh, disjoint uh, two disjoint spaces, sample spaces. Say w or omega, we are calling it as omega and omega bar, where omega is said to be the rejection region. If the omega bar is said to be the exception region, if the calculated value of the test statistic in omega, then it is rejected, otherwise it is going to be accepted, that is exception region. So here the rejection region is said to be the critical region. Okay, so the definition, you can see a region in the sample space in which, if it is if the calculated value of the test statistic lies, we reject the null hypothesis, then it is called critical region or rejection region also. Okay, we can see the uh, values. Okay, theta is greater than theta naught. Okay, so h1, so the rejection alternative hypothesis it is, okay, theta is greater than theta naught. Okay, rejection region. Okay, non-rejection region in the sense exception region. If theta is less than theta, that is left tail test. h1 theta, so that is also be the rejection region. Non-rejection region you can see here, and not equals to h1 theta is not equals to theta naught. So that is both sides you are having the shade values, the rejection regions, and one is in between the non-rejection region, that is exception regions. In next class we are going to discuss about the uh, types of errors which is we are having in our syllabus. Thank you.